Hello and welcome you all to this online class of science with me. My name is Abhishek Mazumdar and you all are watching the second part of the chapter Nutrition in Plant of class 7 NCERT. In the previous part we had already covered about the photosynthesis, how does the photosynthesis occur, what are the main parts which are essential for the photosynthesis, as well as the different mode of nutrition in the last or the previous part. In this part we are going to deal about the synthesis of the food other than the carbohydrate by the plant, then the heterotrophic mode of nutrition and their types, parasitic mode of nutrition, insectivorous plants, saprotrophs, symbiosis, and how the nutrients get replenished in the soil again. So to know about these things elaborately, let's have a look on the slide. First of all, synthesis of the food other than the carbohydrates, as the plant produce carbohydrates which are made of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. In previous video I have already explained that the plant, with the help of photosynthesis, they produces the food which in term of carbohydrate, that is C6H12O6, which in other word known as glucose, right? So this mainly contains what? Carbon and hydrogen. That's why they are known as what? Carbohydrates. So these used to synthesize the components of the food like the protein and vitamins. Okay, but proteins are rich in what? Nitrogenous substances, and that's why they contains nitrogen in excess. So as we all know that we human beings as well as the plants, we cannot absorb the nitrogen or we cannot convert the nitrogen directly from the atmosphere, because you already know in class 6 you have already read that atmosphere contains 78% of what? Nitrogen, right? So plant do what? Plant absorb them from the soil through the roots with the help of what? Some bacteria which convert what? Atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compound. With the help of this diagram you may understand it well that here the air contains so many of nitrogen and there are so many of bacteria which are present inside the soil. They are doing what? They are converting those atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compounds such as nitrates, okay, nitrates, nitrites. So there are many the nitrogenous compounds which used to be get converted by the bacteria, and then only plant can absorb them with the help of the water and minerals. And when they will absorb those nitrogenous compounds, they can easily produce the proteins and vitamins inside the leaf. Okay, so after then let's have a look on the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In the previous video you already understand about the heterotrophs, like those who cannot produce their own food comes under what? Heterotrophs. And as we all know, the mode of nutrition in which organisms cannot make their own food and are dependent on other like the plant and dead and decaying matters, they come under what? Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So with the help of this flow chart we can understand the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. This is also divided into many subtypes like the saprotrophic mode of nutrition, parasitic mode of nutrition and holozoic mode of nutrition. In the saprotrophic mode of nutrition, some examples comes under like fungi and yeast. Parasitic have the examples of the cuscuta and plasmodium, as well as we human beings, dog, amoeba, we all comes under what? Holozoic or the direct heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, let's have a elaborate definition about the parasitic mode of nutrition. Here you can see so many of pictures like the cuscuta fungal attack on the plants. You might have seen this kind of diagram or this kind of things in your daily life, right? So in parasitic mode of nutrition there are two main terms. One is the host and another is parasite. What the host is? The one which provides the essential food and nutrients to the heterotrophs. And here the host may be autotrophs or any other heterotrophs. Do not forget that host may be autotrophs, कोई plant भी हो सकता है, as well as any other heterotrophs, might be any animals or we human beings maybe comes under the host, right? And other than the parasite. And what are parasites then? The parasites are ones which deprive the host from the valuable nutrients. Obviously there are some plants like cuscuta, amabel, they do what? They used to deprive the host plant. Actually there is a big large plant and this yellow curly structures, those are what? Amabel or the cuscuta. They used to deprive the main plant, even causes death sometime. In case of this, like the maize and Oesoporus. Oesoporus is a type of a virus or say parasite. This used to what? This used to live inside the maize plant, and sometimes this will leads to the ultimate death of the plant, right? So obviously, the if the maize plant will be get affected by the Oesoporus, which is a parasite, all the nutrients will be consumed by the parasites, and the main nutrients which must have in the maize plant, they will not have that kind of nutrients from the soil. So these parasites is such a harmful organism which used to live maybe any other plants, or as well as on us, on our we human being also. You must have heard about the worms, right? Worms live inside the stomach of our human beings, right? Or any other heterotrophs, like any other animals. So those worms also act as a part of parasites, and they deprive us from the valuable nutrients. That's why it is important to clear those worms from our body, right? So next part is the insectivorous plant. But do not get confused about the insectivorous plant as the uh, parasitic plant, because parasitic plants, you have already seen the diagram about the amable or the cuscuta. Those are parasitic plant, but insectivorous plants are in another term known as carnivorous plant. Carnivorous, because they feed on what? They feed on different animals, or say different as the plants, green plants which obtain their food partly from the insects, are called what? Insectivorous plants. And as they feed on insects, so they are known as carnivorous plants. Some of the examples are the pitcher plant, sundew plant, and Venus flytrap. Here is a diagram of the plants. What happens in the pitcher plant? Actually, pitcher plants have grown a lid, have grown a pitcher like structure. Here you can see a pitcher like structure and the lid. So when any insects get or come over the upper part of this pitcher plant, they get uh, trapped by the pitcher like structure of the leaf. And here you can see the diagram that how the insects get trapped inside the jelly like structure, which is a digestive juice present inside this pitcher like structure of the plants, right? So they used to kill the insects and used to digest them, and they used to absorb the valuable nutrients from these insects, right? They also produce the food with the help of photosynthesis. Do not get confused that insectivorous plants does not produce the food. As they are green in color, they must have the chlorophyll, so they are producing the food with the help of photosynthesis. But some of the nutrients, as they don't have or don't get from the soil, at that time they used to feed, and that's why they modify their leaves in these forms, right? So insectivorous plants must have the chlorophyll. Do not get confused with this part. Now from the next part, that is about the saprotrophs. Now what are saprotrophs? When organisms take nutrients from the dead and decaying matter, right? So they are called what? Saprotrophs. And the mode of nutrition shown by them is known as what? Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What are the examples of them? Yeast, molds, and more precisely mushrooms. These all comes under what? The fungi kingdom. Okay, there are two types of fungi. One is the good fungi and the bad fungi. Actually, fungi used to do what? They used to grow in the hot and humid weather, when some objects remains in the hot and humid weather for a long time. And during rainy season they are more active, because already fungal spores are there which are always present inside the air. So they used to survive over the objects like the pickle, leather, clothes, and other articles, as well as the dead and decaying matters. Pickles, leather, clothes, these all are what? These are non-active. That's why if they will left over for long time in hot and humid weather, the production of the fungal over these articles will be high, right? As there were the two types of fungi, one is the good and the bad fungi. Good fungi, some of the good fungi comes under, like, we can eat the good fungi, and with the help of those good fungi we can eat or we can make or cook many foods. Like with the help of the yeast, the yeast do what? They convert the sugar into what? Carbon dioxide and alcohol, right? As you already know that what are the alcohol we used to buy from the market. Those all alcohols are prepared with the help of what? Yeast, okay? And it also produces the carbon dioxide during this process. So these are what? Good alcohol, good fungi, but these are not harmful for our body. That's why we are terming them as a good fungi, okay? And similarly, molds are there, as well as which produces as well as the bread or the soya sauces. Molds are the fungi which used to make what? The cheese, like the castle blue, right? Another term comes to us, that is about the symbiosis. Now what the symbiosis is: some organisms live together and share both the shelters and nutrients. They are known as what? They are known as in a symbiotic relationship, okay? Remember that. Some of the examples of symbiotic relationship are lichen. In the lichen, both alga and fungus. Here is the diagram of the alga, and it is the dead and decaying matter, that is a fungus. Fungus grown over the dead and decaying matter, might be it is any dead plant or any other parts where some fungus grown. Fungus do what? Fungus provide the shelter, water and minerals to the alga, and in return what alga gives? Alga prepares the food and gives to the fungus. That's how they live together, and this particular relationship known as what? Symbiosis, okay? Remember that. And at last, there is a query to all of us, that if the plant used to absorb all the nutrients from the soil, so how does the soil get the nutrients again? The replenishment of the soil can be done by the two ways. Remember, one of the ways are the adding manure and fertilizers, because fertilizers are what? They are rich in nutrients like the nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus. With the help of these, obviously soil needs what? Those nutrients, so that the plants can again absorb those nutrients. So we can help of the with the help of the manure and fertilizers, we can replenish the soil. Also, another method is there, like with the help of the rhizobium bacteria, which are present at the root nodules, and they do what? They used to fix the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogenous compound, as you have already read that in the previous slide. So with the help of these, we can again replenish the soil, right? And some of the plants which used to replenish the soil with the help of these methods are moongs, beans, peas, grams, etc., which comes under what? Leguminous plant. Those plants which have those rhizobium bacteria and used to replenish the soil, those plants are known as what? Leguminous plant. Remember this question. And in the next slide we will have some of the nitrogen fixing plants, as these plants used to what? These plants used to fix the nitrogen in the atmosphere, such as black locust, Italian alder, gaumy, broom, wisteria, okay, white clover. These are the examples of some of the nitrogen fixing plant. So it is the end of our video. So at last what we have the conclusion that whenever we will grow some plants in our gardens, we will known to the fact that they make their own food, and for that we need to provide them with the water and manure properly, right? Also, we there are some other types of organism like the yeast and fungus, which may be good or the bad types, and we need to stay alert from them, okay? And at last, our nature is so beautiful. You all have seen that. So it provides us everything. Many different types of plants are there in the earth to make it beautiful, such as carnivorous plants, non-green plants, heterotrophs, etc. So we should always take care of them, and we should keep our environment clean and beautiful every time. Remember this, students. With the help of with this, I'm going to end this video. Thank you, and may God bless you all.